Let's get into the next thing and look at what happens, really what happened during the pandemic that's important to remember even right now. So the study shows that 22% of current retirees left the workforce during the pandemic. And the thing that forced them out was either being overworked or exhausted or health risks or family caregiving responsibilities. And you can see those down here. And this just goes to show how quickly external events can, really ones that we can't control, they can really accelerate our retirement decisions. The pandemic was a stress test for retirement, and many people found that their plans were inadequate at that time. So if you're thinking the pandemic, that's rare. It's not going to happen again for however many years. Just remember that economic downturns or industry disruption or family emergencies, that happens pretty regularly. The point is not to fear the events, but just to build resilience into your retirement plan. Now let's talk about money, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Current workers approaching retirement have a median income of $87,000, but retirees, their median household income is $58,000. That's a 33% drop. But here's what's interesting. Despite the significant income reduction, 66% of retirees say that their standard of living has stayed the same. How is this possible? Well, it turns out that retirement expenses often decrease more than people expect. No more commuting costs, no more work clothes or eating out for lunch every day. Many retirees, they also have paid off their mortgages, so that often goes down in retirement. But this also means that they've adjusted their lifestyle and their expectations downward. So the question for you is, are you prepared to make that adjustment if you need to? Are you assuming that you're going to maintain the current lifestyle that you have on less income, or are you going to make some sort of adjustment? Now, another financial surprise in this study is related to emergency savings. Both current workers and retirees have a median emergency fund of about $10,000, and 17% of retirees have zero emergency savings. I'd actually be interested to hear from you if you're up for it. I think it would be nice to see, or just interesting to poll this community just watching right now with this question. Could you access $10,000 right now without going into debt? If you can, type EM yes into the comments, or if you don't think that you can, type in EM no. I'm going to guess that even the people close to retirement don't have a designated EM fund, but they may still have the assets available to use if an emergency expense comes up. That's what we've seen, but let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you and get a gauge. Now, this next one is a big one, and it is 31% of current retirees. They started taking Social Security at age 62, the earliest possible age. And that ends up costing them 20 to 30% in permanent reduction in their benefits. You can see that right here. And then only 4% waited until age 70 to maximize their benefits. This means that most retirees are living on significantly less Social Security income than they could have received. And the reason they often take it early is because they were forced into retirement earlier than planned, bringing us back to that first point that we talked about when not total control over deciding when to retire. But the median age when retirees started collecting Social Security, that was 63. So if your plan right now, financial plan is saying you're going to work till 67 and then delay Social Security until 70, you'll just want to have a clear path for what happens if life forces your hand a little earlier and you have to retire earlier. So just mapping that out again. What if it was earlier than planned? Have a plan for what to do with Social Security. Now, the next one is probably the saddest one, in my opinion. And after I share it, I'll share 6 quick steps, just a 6-step roadmap to implement right now so that you're better prepared, which leads to less financial anxiety. But the 6th one is that 73% of both current workers and retirees are concerned about health in older age. And this isn't a made up worry, because so many of us have seen it firsthand, right? A friend or family member ready to enjoy the go-go years of retirement, and then a health concern just comes out of left field. And the biggest shock comes when the health concern causes increased long-term care costs. Most of the time, we don't see the big medical expenses come until the late 70s or 80s. But here's the problem from this report. Only 31% of retirees have any plan for long-term care. And this is actually on page 46 over here, where you can see the 31%. But 29% of retirees report that their health has declined since retiring. And this isn't surprising, because health issues are often what force people into retirement in the first place. And here's the financial impact. 46% of retirees plan to rely on family and friends for long-term care. You can see that right here. And only 14% are confident that they can afford professional long-term care if needed. And this can create a burden on families and often leads to inadequate care from what we've seen. The average cost of a private room in a nursing home is over $100,000 per year. And that's just nationwide. It could be a lot more expensive in some of the big cities. Even assisted living averages $50,000 annually. So these costs can quickly deplete retirement savings. So what do we do about this? Here's the 6 steps. First, big picture, plan for flexibility, not rigidity. Instead of planning for one retirement scenario, prepare for 3. Ideal scenario, an early retirement scenario, and then an emergency scenario. And really, those are the first 3, but you can really do all sorts of what-if scenarios. But second, make sure you've got access to emergency funds that's not directly tied to the stock market. That $10,000 median emergency fund that we looked at isn't enough. I'd aim for 12 to 18 months of expenses, possibly in conservative assets. Maybe not the typical 3 to 6 months recommended for while you're working during your working years. But again, talk to a financial planner to see what makes sense for you there. And then third, inside your plan, look at the scenario for increased long-term care medical costs and what the impact will be. Can you self-insure? Will you rely on family, or should you explore long-term care insurance? Then fourth, maximize your Social Security by understanding your options here. But also have a backup plan if you can't delay claiming your benefit. Then fifth, think about health as an investment, not an expense. The better your health going into retirement, the more control you're going to have over your timing and your lifestyle. Then stress test your retirement plan. Ask yourself, what if I had to retire 5 years earlier? What if my spouse gets sick? What if I have there's another economic crisis? What if inflation increases more than expected? Our clients really love running multiple scenarios because it just makes the unknowable a little bit more feasible when it's brought to light, and it really increases their peace of mind.